Kylie Dodsworth, and today I want to talk to you about Candida or Candida, which is to do with yeast in the gut. So a lot of people think that they have a Candida overgrowth in their bowel because they're getting bloating, or they might be getting some signs of vaginal thrush, or they might have an itchy bottom, or they might be getting some yeast infections on their skin. Another thing that can go along with that can actually be recurrent sinus infections. We can actually get yeast in the sinuses as well. So Candida or yeast is a natural part of our population of our gut flora. So we always have some in our gut, but it's like everything. We want things in right balance. If you've got an overgrowth of Candida in the gut, it can actually become an irritant to the gut wall, and we can get some inflammation along the wall. We can get some Candida breaching or getting through that gut wall into our blood. And once it's in the blood, then it can travel wherever. So we can get Candida in the gut or around the bottom, which causes an itchy bottom. That can be transferred in towards the vaginal tissues, as well as also getting in their blood and getting up to the sinuses. So Candida can be showing up in various different places in the body if it's overgrown and if the gut wall has been impacted upon by that. So yeast is a bit sticky. It likes warm and moist environments, and in those situations it sort of starts to stick to the walls of the sinuses or to other parts in our body and to multiply or grow. So Candida is fed by fruit and by sugar. It's also added to by products that are produced with yeast in them. So any yeasted product, which can include breads that are leavened, meaning that they will rise as they're baked, our beer, our wine, fermented foods, they can all have some of these Candida species in them. So we can be adding to the Candida in our gut by eating those foods or drinking those drinks. And we can also be just feeding them the Candida that's also there when we're having, sugars in our diet, and sometimes the fruit sugars as well. So having the right balance of the Candida is important, and when it's overgrown, we can become symptomatic. So what do we need to do about that? We want to look at decreasing the fruits and the sugars that can feed those yeast in the gut. We want to look at not bringing too much more yeast in. So for a period of maybe 4 weeks, 6 weeks, we might want to be doing a fairly low yeast or no yeast diet and a low sugar or no sugar diet. So yeast and sugar minimizing. So just for that period of time. We also then want to look at actually lowering the population that's there. So rather than just starving them, we want to lower the population as well. And we can do that with a natural product called bowel, which is a type of bark from a tree. And that helps us to actually knock down the numbers of the Candida. And there are other herbs that can be helpful for that as well, but they're often a bit more generic for all of the population in the bowel. So we need to be a bit mindful about those other ones too. And there is also a supplement you can get from the doctors. It's more of a medication, I should say, called Nilstat or nystatin, which is an anti-yeast, antifungal medication. I'm saying medication because it's actually quite a big molecule, and when we take it internally, it doesn't get through the bowel wall. So nystatin tends to just stay within the gut, and it doesn't get into the blood, so it doesn't actually get to our liver and the rest of our body, and so it's not really acting in the way standard antifungal medications would work. So Nilstat's actually very safe for us to take as adults and as children, and it helps to lower the yeast population in our gut. You can actually get stronger antifungals as medications that do absorb through the bowel wall into the blood. So we need those if we are getting things like sinus infections, or potentially if we're getting recurrent thrush infections happening as well. We might need to go a little bit stronger. So there are antifungal preparations that we can use. There are dietary changes that we can make. Another thing we can do is actually bring in a healthy yeast to compete with and combat the Candida levels. And so there's a very natural healthy yeast called Saccharomyces boulardii. So we call it SB for short, much easier. So having some SB or Saccharomyces boulardii as a probiotic, plus your standard probiotics of Lactobacillus and Bifidobacter, can also be helpful to rebalance what's going on in your gut. So we're calling it kind of weeding, as in killing off the bacteria, the yeast with our dietary changes, no yeast, no sugar, bringing in the Nilstat or the bowel, those sorts of things. And then we want to seed with the other healthy forms of yeast, the Saccharomyces boulardii and your probiotics. So we want to weed, we want to seed, and then we want to feed. And that's about bringing in all the healthy prebiotics, which are your brightly coloured fruits and veggies, and your natural fibres in your vegetables, plus all your other healthy natural foods. So there's some things to be mindful of. If you've got symptoms of Candida, there's lots of things you can do to try and rebalance that for yourself, and then we can go further from there if we need to. So if you've got any questions, you can find me at the website below. Until then, I look forward to seeing you next time, and I'm Dr. Kylie Dodsworth. Bye for now.